G'day guys, and welcome to my daily commute. Joining me along for the ride tonight will be a 2 out of 2, would you believe it, which is a record for me. Little, Goldilocks, big. Gonna take baby bear out for a ride. Why do I say record? Well, that's very easy. I don't think I've ridden this bike 2 days in a row during my normal nightly commutes, but today I am going to give it a crack. And quite frankly, I'm filling up for the task, so when the sun's out, as they say, make hay. Let's go, Big Blue. What's tonight's topic of conversation? Well, because it's on Big Blue, it's mad for it not to be a topic relating to the bike, which will be, why did I pick an R1? To cut a long story unbelievably short, although we obviously will go into detail, it's mostly about the posing factor. Now, before I... Whoa, what's going on here? Bloody hell, sand all over the road. Before I go into detail on it, and before I cop any grief for using words like I'm a pretend biker and a poser and whatever else you want to go on about, it's very much a emotional decision to buy some motor vehicles, especially when you consider that there is so much on offer, and the best is not always, well, the best. To cut a long story short, this is probably not the best bike. It's not even the best bike probably from the era. The S1000RR keeps coming back to the tip of my lips for some reason, but for me, my choice was real simple. What floats my boat? And whoa, a little bit of a wobble there. This is the one for me. Now, some people have brand loyalties, some people are brand snobs, some people, I've been there and I've done that, although I wouldn't call myself necessarily a snob, but some people are even a Euro snobs. That's obviously a little bit more prevalent in the car world, and when I say I was possibly a Euro snob, actually I still own one European vehicle right now. I own an Alpha, a GTA, but yeah, my previous Euro purchase was an Audi A8. It was, for those who are familiar with it, it was a D3 model, and that was the generation from 2003 to 2010. Really loved that car. It didn't die a horrible death, but it did die. Not mechanically, there was an accident involved, but that's maybe a story for another day. But yeah, I definitely purchased that vehicle with the specific intention of it being, and it was my first European car that I bought, that I was definitely going to buy a European car. So if you want to say snob, sure, call me a snob, but I was already, I want to say in my 40s, I want to say maybe 40. 2003, 2012, yeah, I was 40. I was 40 years old and it was my first European car. Oh yeah, you know, VWs, this, that and the other, Audi A3, you know, some sort of shit box. Anyone can buy a European car. That in and of itself is not a massive claim. But if I was going to buy a flash European toy, it was going to be flash as fuck. And for those of you who don't know, my car cost $240,000 brand new when it came out. So yes, flash is no understatement. And in the biking world, yes, of course, for a long time, you know, Ducati's been the flagship of, at least while we're on these sports bikes, Ducati was the flagship of all sports bikes. Probably still is. I mean, it's got a highly regarded name. Personally, personally, I've got a little bit of a soft spot for MV Agusta, and actually before this bike I was very close to buying an MV Agusta F4 1000 RR. It was the 2012 model, which was before the updated 2013, so I was missing one electronic aid. I'm not sure which one it was. It was missing traction control or power settings. I think it was power settings. The 2013 came out with power settings, but anyway, it was not to be. It didn't happen. I was very close, but no, it didn't happen. So my first sports bike almost was, not, you know, being a Euro snob, I mean, I wasn't out specifically looking for anything European, but it just came up. I saw it, I liked it, I inquired, but for various reasons it didn't happen. But somewhere along my search, it was specific. I mean, I was definitely going to go and buy a litre bike. I was trading in a Honda CTX 1300 to achieve this. So I knew that whenever I get rid of that, if I either A, sell it, or B, if I have to trade it, it'll be for a litre bike, my first litre bike. But look, again, I can't tell you how this occurred or how it happened, but my shopping list reduced dramatically once somehow or other the R1 appeared on the scene. I was definitely budget conscious, so it wasn't a no expense spared purchase. It was trade related also, if possible. So basically, when I bought this bike, it was around 14 grand. It's probably a little bit more expensive now, but when I got it was 14. So there was a few reasons as to why. That was definitely my top end budget, so that put me into the category of, in 2022, or the start of 2022, that put me in the category of essentially most pre-2016, 2017 sports bikes. So the new R1 was out, the new CBR 1000 RR, which I was definitely interested in, because I owned 3 Hondas at that stage, so I thought, well, the first litre bike I've got to have a look at is a CBR, but no, that was out. No, I'm not really into buying super old stuff. So basically, the only other litre bike that I actually test rode prior to this was a 2016, so the last of the previous generation CBRs. Wasn't impressed. I just, cut a long story short there, it was basically the ride. As soon as I hopped on it, it just felt wrong. Anyway, missed out on that one. No great loss, because I was already contemplating things that I was going to do to that bike anyway, because other things about it did not appeal to me, which brings me on now to this bike. Things about that bike that did not appeal to me were things like, and it's mostly all just aesthetics, because you like to sit there and look at your toys. The CBR for that era was very ho-hum. It just was a typical utilitarian, generic Japanese sports bike with some plastic on it. So no, it just didn't appeal to me. I'm not a bike racing superbike fiend, and like I said, I was buying my first litre bike. So I was not there to buy the SP, I was not there to buy the Triple R, I was not there to buy the M Sport or the R or the S version of any bike. I was just there to buy a relatively powerful litre bike that I could grow into. And by grow into, I mean, 180, 190 horsepower plus is plenty. I certainly wasn't needing to chase 200 and something or something crazy. This bike here, with the tune on it and this, that and the other, I mean, this bike's probably sitting between 190 and 200 at the crank, which again, like I said, is heaps for me. I'm not even anywhere near exploring that. So, power was not an issue. Any sports bike is going to be relatively powerful, So any sports bike would have ticked the box for me. So that just basically brought it down to aesthetics. What bike looks good? What bike do I look at and just go, oh yeah? And that's pretty much what brought me to the R1. It's just such a visually aggressive and in-your-face bike. If you compare it to, for argument's sake, the GSX-R, oh, fifth gear, that's why she's a bit lumpy. If you compare it to a GSX-R, a CBR, a ZX-R, no, they're very generic. They are a very generic bike. This thing is just, wow. You've got the headlights at the front. Well, okay, first of all, you've got the paint schemes. I like the paint schemes on pretty much all of the 12 to 14 bikes. And yes, we'll cut that straight to the chase. Once I zeroed in on the old R1s, I knew it was going to be a 12 to 14. That was it. That was also my budget anyway, so it fit nicely into my budget. And all of the 12 to 14 paint schemes I love. There's the blue with white. There's this one, which is the white with blue. And then there is the white with red. I think that's it. And pretty much I would have been happy with any one of those. But I was leaning more towards the blue side. So this one is definitely within the ballpark for me. I would have been happy with the blue on white or the white on blue. I've gone with the blue on white. Now, symmetry is a massive thing for me. And you've got the front end, which has two lights, and both those lights work. So many bikes of that era had asymmetrical things going on in the front. Either one light was working and the other light was the high beam, or you had that weird shitty fucking BMW thing happening with the square light and the round light or whatever. No. That's not going to do. And then exhaust pipes. Well, I'm not a massive fan on having one exhaust pipe just sort of hanging out there on its own. This era and generation of R1, two twin undertail pipes. Man, who cannot go for that? Mix that with a nice set of Graves or Gita exhaust, or Akrapovic if you really have to go for a push. But this bad boy here came with the in-house bloody Gitas, GYTR. Man, no brainer. Lights up front, twin carbon pipes under the seat. Just the aggressive looks in general. And of course, that iconic cross-plane pseudo V-twin burble. Once I found out about that, it was not even a choice. Not even a choice. I've always liked the V-twin on my Ducati, which I did have before this. And I'm, not going to say no to a V-twin if it ever pops into my life again. I would never say no to a Panigale if it arrives in my driveway. But this thing with the cross-plane inline 4, you get the best of both worlds. So I could not say no to that. Oh, this light always shits me. Come on guys, let's go. What are we fucking waiting on? Are you deadly serious? Man, everyone's sitting on a red light. This is Sydney, Australia for you. Fucking no cunt's going anywhere. Only responds to loud exhaust, eh? Alright, no worries. Whoops. That's bright. Man, riding straight into the sun. Thanks very much. Yeah, so this bike was pretty much going to be a winner straight out of the gate. I'm not going to cut too much into other points of topics to cover, plus I'm getting fairly close to the gym. But yeah, looks, cross-plane, 190 plus horsepower, 200 kilos. Well, not that most litre bikes aren't around the 200 mark anyway, so it's not really an issue. But yeah, how can I not say no to this? Do I like the new R1s? That's the next topic of conversation. If you like this R1 so much, what's the chance that you like the new R1s? Well, I'm warming to them. I'm definitely warming to them. However, as all the things that I've already discussed, there's things about them that I don't like, which is the asymmetrical lights, which is the single exhaust. One little exhaust sitting out there on the right hand side. Would I say no to an R1M if it dropped into my driveway? Well, no, obviously. Is it my fucking bike of choice? Or would it be? No. Is it more bike than I need? Oh, by a long way. But for a modern bike, is it something that has an emotive connection to you? Well, it does. It does. And I'm 100% not going to rule out an R1M in my future. But there's a few other bikes on my short list as well. But the question is, would one of those bikes, okay, like the new or the current model S1000R or double R, whatever it is. Oh, the lights again. Oh, jeez, man, I can't see anything. Where was I? Yeah, with something in the current market, the recent market, so 2016 plus, is there something that I would buy to replace this bike right now? And I can comfortably say right now, off the top of my head, probably not. Some form of a Ducati. Well, I wouldn't say no to, obviously, a Panigale V4 S or an R to replace this. But I'm not so much of a replacer. I buy stuff because I like it, and if I like it, I'm probably tempted to keep it. I would rather add to rather than replace. This is such an iconic bike. This is such a beautiful bike. This is such an emotive bike for me. I can't imagine myself replacing it. Until such time, but it's not going to happen, until such time as I clearly exceed this bike's potential and I can wring 10 tenths out of it on a track, or 8 to 9 tenths out of it on the street. No, there's nothing I need to replace this with. Am I going to get bored of this bike? Oh, I don't see that happening anytime soon, to be honest. Mind you though, I've only owned it for a year now. But every time I ride it, I get a bit of a giggle, so no, I don't think I'm going to get bored of it. I own a couple of bikes also, and as I posted in my last video, I like to spread my love around, which again also prevents me from, I suppose, hating bikes. The more toys you have, the more love you can spread around, the less likely you are to get bored of it. Like I said, I could own a Porsche 911 and I'll be bored of it within 6 months if that was the only vehicle that I owned. But yeah, this is my first 1000. It's the first one I chose, and I chose it for all the reasons stated, which is basically it's a plenty powerful bike for anybody, not just me. But it's a very iconic bike. Whenever you mention R1, people go, oh, you got an R1? I mean, I don't really think people say that about, oh, you've got a CBR, you got a Fireblade, oh, you got a Gixxer, oh, you got a ZX-10. No, it just doesn't happen, does it? R1s are an iconic bike for some reason, which is probably why I got steered towards it. That doesn't, however, mean that my next bike will exclusively be an R1. And If I do add another bike to the collection, another litre bike, I find that very unlikely at this current point in time. I may add a 600, and the 600 may be purely for track duties. Something maybe a little bit cheaper, something I'm not too scared to drop. And that is an issue, but that's an issue for another day, which is how long before this thing goes onto the track. Well, I've got all my track gear now, so probably answer to that is soon, but I'm not going to be riding this at 10/10 on the track because it's too nice to drop. This is as much of a show bike and a poser bike for me as it is a bit of a panty tickler. But yes, I don't want to drop it, so another bike may need to be used for track purposes only. Anyway, that gives you a bit of an insight as to why I bought an R1, and the reason is that, because at the end of the day it's pretty hard to hate this gorgeous thing. If you want to ask me any questions about any of my bikes, about this bike in particular, feel free to drop by in the chat. More than happy to converse with people and offer my points of view and what limited experience that I have. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe at any stage. Love to have more people interact in my channel. Anyway, that's it for now, and we'll see you on the next video. That's 2 out of 2 for the R1. Who knows what the next one will be? You never know. Stay posted and find out. Alright, cheers, and catch us all on the next one. Zig out.